All right, welcome everyone to our deep dive all about getting that visa you need to study abroad.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It really is. I mean, it's kind of the key, right? It's the thing that makes or breaks that dream for a lot of folks.
Exactly.
So we're going to dive deep today into a whole stack of guides, tips, even real life stories
Love the real life story.
from Let's Study about navigating this whole visa process.
Yeah, I think it can be really intimidating for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
So hopefully we can break it down, make it a little less scary.
Yeah, demystify it a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe first, let's just start with the basics.
Okay.
What exactly a study visa?
So a study visa is, well, think of it like permission
Okay.
from a country to come and study there.
Oh, right.
But it's temporary, right? Like you're not immigrating.
Gotcha.
It's just saying, hey, you can come study here for this set period of time.
So it's kind of like a golden ticket
Yeah.
to your international education adventure.
Exactly. But a temporary golden ticket.
Okay. Yeah, it's not forever.
And there's rules.
Right, of course. There's always rules.
And those can be really different depending on where you're going.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Like if you're thinking about an English-speaking country, the UK, Canada, Australia, you might need to prove you speak English well enough
Yeah, that makes sense.
with a test, like the IELTS or TOEFL.
Right, right. I've heard of those.
And even beyond the language thing, every country has its own types of student visas.
Ah.
Okay, so there's a lot to figure out.
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation, that's for sure. And, speaking of things that can be tricky, you gave me this guide on common reasons why visas get rejected.
Oh, yeah?
And one that I thought was really interesting was past rejections or immigration issues.
Well,
Like, why is that such a red flag for visa officers?
Well, you got to see it from their point of view, right?
Mhm.
They want to be sure you're going to follow the rules
Okay.
that you'll leave when you're supposed to. And if there's something in your past that suggests maybe you didn't,
Even if it was a totally understandable situation?
yeah, even then, it can make them hesitant.
Wow. So it's like, even if you fix the problem that caused that rejection, it can still come back to bite you.
Exactly. So doing things right the first time is key.
Makes sense. So let's talk about those tips for getting approved then.
Okay.
What's the number one thing you would tell someone who's starting this process?
Apply early, like as early as you possibly can.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge. Visa processing times are unpredictable.
I bet.
You don't want to be stressing out last minute.
Okay, so just get the ball rolling.
And it shows you're organized, serious about studying there.
Right, right. Any other top tier tips?
Choosing a school that's recognized, accredited.
Mm-hmm.
Not all schools carry the same weight
Okay.
with immigration officials.
So you're more likely to get approved if you're going to a top tier school.
Yeah, it adds credibility to your application.
It's like picking a well-respected tour guide.
Exactly.
They know where they're going.
And make sure your application's perfect, no errors.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Every detail matters.
Small mistakes can have big consequences.
Totally. I once almost missed a trip because of a tiny error on a document.
See? And if you're unsure about anything, don't be afraid to get help.
Okay.
There are professionals who specialize in this stuff.
Like via navigators.
Yeah, they can guide you through the whole process, make sure everything's solid.
So it's like having a visa Sherpa.
Exactly. They can take a lot of the stress out of it.
So we've covered applying early, picking the right school, being super careful with your application, and getting help if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
What else should people really focus on? You mentioned financial documentation a lot.
Yeah, finances are a big deal
Why is that?
because it's about proving you can support yourself.
Oh. So they don't want you becoming a financial burden,
Right. They want to see that you've got a plan.
a solid financial strategy.
Exactly.
You mentioned a student named Rahul in one of the guides who had some trouble with this.
Yeah, Rahul's a great example.
What happened with him?
He had the money, but his initial application got delayed
Why?
because he didn't have the right documents.
Oh, no.
He had bank statements, but they didn't tell the whole story.
What kind of story?
Like, where did the money come from?
Ah, okay.
How is it being managed? Will it cover his expenses?
Right. The visa officers need that bigger picture.
Exactly.
So this is another area where professional help can come in handy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They know what documents to gather, how to present them.
Yeah, they can make sure your financial story is clear and convincing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so financial documentation, big deal. Get help if you need it.
Two big takeaways for sure.
Now, you mentioned LetzStudy, and I know they help students, especially from Karnataka, achieve their study abroad goals.
They do.
What's their approach?
Well, they understand that the visa process is about more than just paperwork.
Okay.
It's about dreams, aspirations, overcoming challenges.
They make it personal.
Exactly.
What kind of challenges have they helped students overcome?
Oh, all sorts. Securing funding, dealing with past rejections, even navigating tough interviews.
Really?
They've got some amazing success stories.
Really?
Like Magana, she really struggled with the financial side of things.
Was she trying to study in Canada?
Yeah, that's right.
What were her hurdles?
Well, her family had the money, but it was tied up in investments, assets, you know.
Complicated.
Yeah, so LetzStudy helped them restructure things.
To meet those specific requirements.
Exactly. And then there's Darshan. He was really nervous about his interview for the UK.
Interviews are scary.
They can be, yeah.
So how did they help him?
They did mock interviews with him, helped him prepare.
Practice makes perfect, right?
It definitely helps. He aced the real interview and got his visa.
That's awesome.
And we can't forget Vishnu. He had a previous rejection for the U.S.
Oh, wow. That's got to be discouraging.
Yeah, but LetzStudy helped him figure out why, strengthened his application, and he got approved on his second try.
That's amazing. It sounds like LetzStudy really provides that extra level of support
They do.
to help students navigate this whole process.
It can be emotional, stressful to get that.
For sure. Now, speaking of stressful, can we talk a bit more about the visa interview?
Of course.
I mean, even the thought of it makes me nervous.
It's like a performance, right? Everything's on the line.
Exactly.
But remember, it's not a trap.
Okay, that's good to hear.
It's a chance to show how much you want this, how prepared you are.
Yeah, show your enthusiasm.
Exactly. In your research, there's Rohit's story.
Oh, right, Rohit.
He nailed his U.S. visa interview
Because
he prepared, researched potential questions, practiced his answers.
So preparation is key.
Absolutely.
What else can someone do to, like, really impress the visa officer?
Well, remember, confidence comes from knowledge.
Okay.
Research the visa category you're applying for.
Like, really understand the ins and outs of it.
Exactly. The more you know, the more confident you'll feel.
So it's not about memorizing answers. It's about really knowing your stuff.
Visa officers are looking for genuine students who are passionate.
Passionate about their studies.
Yeah, and who understand what it means to be granted a visa.
Like the responsibilities that come with it.
Exactly.
So be prepared to explain why you chose this program, how it connects to your goals, your finances, all of that.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to show your excitement.
Let your passion shine through.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. What a visa is, those tricky rejection reasons, some inspiring success stories, and even some tips for nailing that interview.
Yeah, we've made some good progress.
What's next on our visa voyage?
Well, before we dive into the specifics of the application,
Okay.
I think it's good to pause and reflect
Reflect on what?
on what we've learned so far.
Okay.
What's resonating with you the most?
What's standing out to you? Okay, so let's say someone's feeling inspired and ready to actually start this whole visa process.
All right.
Where do they even begin?
Well, step one, it might seem obvious, but you got to figure out where you want to study,
Okay.
what program you want to do.
Right, right.
It sounds simple, but really takes some time to research, choose a country, and a program that really fit your goals.
It's like picking your adventure.
Exactly.
You got to know where you want to go before you can figure out how to get there.
Exactly. So once you have that vision, then you can focus on step two,
Okay, what's step 2?
getting accepted.
By the school.
Yeah, you need that acceptance letter from a recognized institution.
That's like your golden ticket, right?
Exactly. It proves you've got what it takes academically.
But then I imagine there's a whole other set of hoops to jump through.
Oh yeah, step three is all about the documents.
Oh, the dreaded paperwork.
It can seem like a lot, but it's manageable if you stay organized.
So what kind of documents are we talking about here?
Well, the specifics depend on the country, but some common ones are a valid passport,
Okay, that makes sense.
proof of financial stability, that acceptance letter we talked about,
Yeah.
academic transcripts, and often proof of English language proficiency.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is, and that's why a lot of students make the mistake of underestimating how long it takes to gather everything.
Yeah, you don't want to be scrambling at the last minute.
Exactly, so start early, make a checklist, stay on top of it.
It's like packing for a big trip.
Yeah,
You don't want to forget your passport.
exactly. All right, so you've got all your documents, now what?
Now it's time to face the music.
Well, not quite yet.
Okay.
First, you got to fill out the visa application form.
Okay.
Step 4, that's usually online, sometimes in person.
And I'm guessing accuracy is super important here.
Well, absolutely. Double check every single detail.
So it's like taking a very important test.
Yeah, but with higher stakes.
For sure.
Okay, and speaking of important, step 5 is paying the visa application fee.
Right, because this whole process isn't free.
Unfortunately not. The fee varies by country, by visa type.
But it's an investment in your future, right?
Yeah. All right, now we can talk about the interview.
Ugh, the interview.
Step 6.
I know not all countries require it, but a lot do, right?
Yeah, including the U.S.
So, can we talk a bit more about what to expect during a visa interview?
Of course. Yeah. I know it can be nerve-wracking,
It is.
but remember, it's also your chance to shine.
Okay.
Show your enthusiasm, your preparedness.
So, like, how do you do that?
Well, we talked about practicing common interview questions,
Right.
but it's also crucial to research the specific visa category you're applying for.
So, like, if you're applying for an F1 visa to study in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
you should really understand what that visa entails, all the details.
Exactly. The more you know, the more confident you'll be.
Right. Knowledge is power.
And visa officers are looking for genuine students. Remember that.
Okay.
People who are passionate about their studies and who understand the responsibilities that come with a visa.
It's about aligning your personal goals with the expectations of the visa program.
You got it.
Okay, so you've submitted your application, done the interview if you needed to.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next?
Well, then comes the hardest part,
Which is...
the waiting game.
Oh, yeah, that's brutal.
Step 7, you just got to wait for a decision.
Any tips for dealing with the anxiety of waiting?
Well, first remember processing times vary.
Okay.
It depends on the country, all
Yeah.
sorts of factors.
But just be patient.
Exactly. Don't book any flights until you have that visa.
Good advice.
And while you're waiting, stay informed.
How do you do that?
A lot of countries have online portals where you can track your application,
Oh, that's...
like tracking a package.
I love that.
And if you're really unsure about anything, reach out to the embassy or consulate.
Okay.
They're there to help.
So we've walked through those 7 key steps.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey, for sure.
It is.
But hopefully breaking it down like this makes it a little less daunting.
I hope so.
So we've talked about getting the visa, but what about once you're actually in the country?
Ah, yes. That's important too.
Like, what do you need to do to stay in good standing?
Well, it all comes down to understanding the rules.
The rules of the visa.
Exactly. Those are outlined in your guide too.
Okay.
It's like being a guest in someone's home. You want to be respectful.
Right. Follow their rules.
And one of the biggest rules for student visas is maintaining full-time enrollment.
So you can't just skip class to go sightseeing.
Not if you want to keep your visa.
Okay. Good to know.
And remember, your visa has an expiration date.
Oh, right. Like a driver's license.
Exactly. You need to renew it before it expires.
Otherwise, you could get in trouble.
Exactly. And it goes without saying, but avoid any trouble with the law.
Okay.
That can definitely jeopardize your visa status.
No crazy parties.
Right. Your student visa is a privilege, not a right.
A privilege. That's a good way to put it.
It comes with responsibilities.
So it's like being part of a special club. You got to follow the rules to stay in.
Exactly. Now, what if someone needs help navigating all these rules, all
Yeah.
these steps?
That's a good question. Is there help available?
There is. And that leads us perfectly into the next part of our discussion,
Okay.
where we'll explore some additional resources and insights.
All right. What kind of tools are we talking about?
Well, we talked about professional guidance, and your research highlights some great options,
Okay.
like educational consultants who specialize in study abroad.
It can help with the visa process, too.
Oh, yeah, they can offer personalized support every step of the way.
It's like having an experienced guide
Exactly.
leading you through unfamiliar territory.
And there's also a ton of information available online.
Oh, yeah, the internet.
Embassy websites, reputable immigration websites.
Okay.
They're gold mines of up-to-date information.
So it's like having a digital compass.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of community.
Community.
Yeah, connect with other students who are going through the same thing.
Where can you find them?
Online forums, student groups,
Okay.
sharing experiences, tips, even anxieties can really help.
It's like joining a fleet of ships all sailing towards the same destination.
Beautifully put.
So as we kind of reach the final leg of our deep dive here, let's recap what we've learned on our visa voyage so far.
Right, good idea.
What are the essentials we should be packing in our mental suitcase?
Well, I think the most important thing is to remember that a student visa isn't just a hurdle.
Okay.
It's part of the journey.
Part of the study abroad experience.
Exactly. It's your chance to show your commitment, your preparedness.
And your understanding of what it means to study in another country.
Exactly.
It's like a passport to a world of possibilities,
Yes.
both academically and personally.
And while the process can seem overwhelming, remember to break it down.
One step at a time.
Exactly. Get help if you need it. Stay organized. Stay informed.
It's like charting a course and navigating with confidence.
Yeah, I like that.
Anything else we should keep in mind as we wrap things up? We've talked about those initial steps, potential roadblocks, like the whole 9 yards.
We really have.
But I think for me, what really stands out are those stories from Let's Study.
Yeah, they're powerful.
It's like, seeing how their support made such a tangible difference.
Absolutely.
Like for those students, it really brings it home.
It makes it real.
Yeah, it makes it real. Like these are real people going through this, and they made it.
Exactly. And those stories bring us to a question for you to ponder.
Okay, hit me with it.
Now that you've gotten this glimpse into the visa process,
Mm-hmm.
what part of it are you most curious about? Or maybe even like excited to tackle?
Ooh, that's a good one. Is it the deep dive into all the different programs?
Yeah, finding the perfect fit.
Choosing the right country? That can feel overwhelming.
It can. There's so many options.
Or maybe it's the financial planning part.
Getting those ducks in a row.
Figuring out how to, prove you can support yourself.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Or maybe it's the interview itself.
Ah, the interview.
It's nerve-wracking, but maybe you're feeling ready to, conquer that fear.
Show them what you've got. Well, whatever it is, remember that every journey starts with a single step.
That's true.
And getting that visa is often that very first step.
Towards making those study abroad dreams a reality.
Exactly.
So embrace the challenge. Get help if you need it.
Don't be afraid to ask for guidance.
And most importantly, start your visa voyage with confidence and excitement.
Your international education adventure is out there waiting for you.
Bon voyage. And until our next deep dive, keep exploring.